Your numbers have increased dramatically over the last few days. Kind of walk us through how you got to the figures that you're putting out today, and are you surprised at how quickly they're changing?
First of all, we are facing an unprecedented crisis, and as the virus has expanded, outside the borders of Asia and everywhere in the world, we have seen very quick and severe measures of restricting flights, banning flights, closing borders. And so the traffic has dropped by something like in Europe, 85%, in the Americas, 60%, in Asia, 70%. So the figures are enormous. And so we have been obliged, to change our estimates and to increase significantly, the amount of losses that the industry will face in terms of revenues. So we move from 113 billion US dollars loss of revenues that was 2 weeks ago to now 252 billion US dollars in terms of loss of revenues for the industry. So it's a significant increase, but it's driven by the rapidity, the speed of the virus spreading all over, and the measures taken by governments.
Is that your worst case scenario? And if not, what is the worst case scenario? We've seen kind of most air transport now being shut down. We saw some TSA figures a little bit earlier on from the United States showing air travel down by 80% year on year on a single day. Can it get much worse from here, given the level of groundings that we're seeing?
I think it's difficult, to say that at this day. 252 is a big number already. But of course, it is based on a certain, first of all, magnitude of the drop. Well, we have an idea now, but also on the length of the crisis. If the crisis extends, if we are more in a U-based, recovery instead of a V-based, which is, faster and more and with more amplitude, it could be below that. If it's a U slow recovery, it could be above the 252. But the 252 is still a big number.
Mr. de Juniac, what do your members say? Should borders be closed? Should domestic travel be shut down? Would it be easier for your members to actually, not operate, even though they're operating at a very limited capacity anyway, if governments were to say, look, domestic travel is stopped, borders are closed?
For our members, it's always a very difficult decision to shut down. Already, we have had many of our members which have shut down and ceased completely their operations. But it's a difficult decision, and so a lot of them they have maintained a minimal traffic, which is important, to maintain the connectivity and the connection. In addition to that, I would like to flag an important point, which is the cargo traffic. We need the cargo traffic for various key industries. To start with, to fight against the coronavirus pandemic, because we transport medical material, equipment, medical personnel, drugs. So it's absolutely key. And we need also that not to disrupt, the supply chain in various industries that are critical in our difficult times. So cargo must be maintained, even facilitated by governments.
Have you been through the US proposal? So the Democrats are proposing to allocate $37 billion in grants to airlines, $3 billion to airline contractors. The GOP bill, for example, offers only loans. What's your stance on how airlines, airports and critical infrastructure should be helped? Is it fair, for example, that Boeing gets something from the US government if a Bombardier doesn't in Europe?
The point is not to see whether or not we should help a part of the industry and not the other part. What we have proposed to all governments on this planet, including the US government, is a set of measures that goes from loans, from guarantees, from credit lines to even cash injection through equity, and they choose and they design the measures they want to implement depending on the situation of the airline, of any individual airline they want to help, and the situation of the country or the structure of ownership of the airline. So it's a customized package that we think is the most efficient to rescue our industry.
Okay, Mr. de Juniac, on that point, for instance, the UK is saying that it will not offer blanket guarantees or blanket aid to the industry. It'll do it on a case-by-case basis. Do you think that is the best way of doing it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so because, you have companies that have different size, different financial situation, that are in a different state. So a design package for each airline, for us, look as the best solution, and it's what we have advocated all over the world. State by state, airline by airline, in conjunction with our members in each country.